All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're heading to the absolute front lines of climate change. We're talking about the coldest parts of our planet to see how a warming world is setting off some really dramatic and, frankly, pretty dangerous transformations. So, I want you to picture this for a second. You're a gold miner. You're working on the frozen sea off the coast of Alaska. Seems solid enough, but you turn your back for a moment and the very ground beneath your feet just starts to break apart, carrying you and all of your expensive gear miles out into the freezing ocean. That is exactly what happened to John Culp. And his story, well, it's a shocking preview of what's going down in the Arctic.
Look, we've always had extreme weather, right? But what we're seeing now, this is something else entirely. As climate change kicks into high gear, our weather is basically mutating. It's becoming way more dangerous and just wildly unpredictable. And you know what? Nowhere are the rules of the game changing faster than in the polar regions, from the Arctic all the way down to Antarctica.
So let's start with that story, back in Nome, Alaska, where what used to be a job has turned into a life or death gamble for these ice dredgers. Now this is what really shows you the speed of the change. I mean, get this, just a decade ago, these miners could work safely all the way until May 10th. A few years later, that safety date had to be pushed all the way up to April 15th. Then, in 2019, the year John Culp got stranded, the ice just disintegrated in March. Their entire working season is literally vanishing right before their eyes. So, John's story, it wasn't just some freak accident. No, it's a symptom of a much, much bigger scientific reality. To really get why his world is literally breaking apart, we need to talk about something scientists call the cryosphere. The cryosphere is pretty much all the frozen water on our planet, but it's not just some vast, empty, icy landscape. It's an absolutely critical life support system. It provides drinking water from glacier melt for hundreds of millions of people. This is probably the best and simplest way to think about it. You know, all those vast white surfaces in the Arctic, they act like a giant cooling system for the whole planet, reflecting the sun's heat right back into space. The problem is, it feels like someone left that refrigerator door wide open. And this right here is the absolute core of the problem. It's not just getting warmer everywhere at the same speed. There's this phenomenon called Arctic amplification, which means the polar regions are heating up at a truly terrifying accelerated pace. And this number just perfectly illustrates the point. Scientists have found that ecosystems in the Arctic are warming 3 to 4 times faster than the rest of the planet. So whatever changes are happening where you live, just imagine them on hyperdrive. That's what's happening up there. Okay, and this is a critical feedback loop that puts that amplification into overdrive. Think of the white ice like a giant mirror, reflecting the sun's heat away. But when it melts, what's underneath? Dark ocean. And that's more like wearing a black t-shirt on a super sunny day. It just soaks up the heat. So more absorption means more warming, which of course means more melting. It's a really vicious cycle. You know, these scientific ideas aren't just abstract concepts in a textbook. They have profound, real-world consequences, especially for the indigenous communities who have called the Arctic home for generations. I mean, just look at this breakdown for the Inupiat village of Shishmarith, Alaska. 20 years ago, the sea ice was this thick, a protective shield, and a reliable highway for them to travel on. Today, it's thin, it's unreliable, and it's shrunk so much that their actual coastline is just eroding into the ocean, threatening critical things like the airport runway, which is their only way out. Wow. This quote from Dennis Davis it hits you right in the gut. This isn't some far-off threat. It's the ocean, literally at his doorstep, washing his home and his entire history away. And the crisis, it just ripples out to the entire ecosystem they rely on to survive. The water's getting too warm for salmon, rain is falling on snow and creating this impenetrable ice layer that's starving the caribou. Young seals have nowhere to rest during storms because the ice floes are gone. The whole web of life up there is being completely turned upside down. But there's another threat, and this one might be even more ominous. It's lurking right beneath the surface. Scientists sometimes call it the sleeping giant of the Arctic, the thawing of permafrost. So permafrost is basically ground that's been frozen solid for thousands of years. It is the literal foundation of the Arctic. But as it thaws, this landscape glue is just dissolving. The ground is collapsing. It's creating these drunken forests where trees are tilting at all these crazy angles and coastlines are just slumping into the sea. Now, here's what's so dangerous about this. It's another one of those feedback loops. As the permafrost thaws, it releases massive amounts of methane and carbon dioxide that have been trapped for millennia. Those greenhouse gases warm the atmosphere up even more, which, you guessed it, causes more permafrost to thaw. It is a potential runaway train of warmth. And here is the kicker. Methane isn't just any old greenhouse gas. Over a 20-year period, it is 20 to 23 times more powerful at trapping heat than carbon dioxide. And this, right here, is why scientists are so incredibly concerned about this sleeping giant waking up. Okay, so why does any of this matter to someone living in, say, Miami or Mumbai? Well, because the Arctic's crisis is really a warning for the entire planet. What happens up there has direct, global consequences for all of us. And this isn't just an Arctic problem. Take a look at this data from all over the world. In Alaska, glaciers are melting at absolutely shocking rates. In Greenland, the entire surface of its massive ice sheet now melts in the summer. The Himalayas, Antarctica, they're all seeing these dramatic, accelerating losses. And all that ice that was on land, it's pouring into the ocean. And that's what leads to sea level rise for everybody.
This quote just sums it up perfectly. The Arctic is our planet's early warning system. It's the canary in the coal mine. The rapid, destabilizing changes that we're seeing there, well, they're a preview of what's coming for the rest of the world if we don't get our act together.
The gold miners, the Inupiat elders, the scientists, they are all trying to tell us the exact same thing. The future they are living through right now is headed for the rest of us. So the real question isn't about what's happening anymore. It's whether or not we're actually listening.